What's up, guys? Spencer Kruse. I day 2'd at the 2025 North American World Championship Qualifier with Maliss. Ended up going 9-3 after all 12 rounds of Swiss and finishing in hard 7th place. Got 2 losses day 1 and my 3rd loss day 2. My matchups were 8 Mitsurugi Ryzeal, 2 of them having Fiend Smith in them as well. 2 Vanquish Soul, 1 Blue Eyes Primite, and 1 Orcus Mitsurugi. The 3 losses were all against Mitsurugi Ryzeal. 2 of them being just complete blowouts, non-games on my end. That's the format. So, some engines are just so good that if you don't get hard stopped by high impact hand traps, then you're just off to the races, and it really doesn't matter what low impact stuff they keep throwing at you. And then the other loss, being to a guy that topped. Can't be too upset. He didn't really sack me or anything. I just played poorly. I was getting drowsy. It is what it is. Definitely gonna get my top next time. And yeah, the Maliss has kind of been my deck. So if there isn't some absolute slaughter to it, I'm just gonna keep on with it. And I felt very confident in the list. It was very capable. I knew my matchups well and was playing tight most of the time, except at the end of day 1. I was just so, exhausted at that point. Had already had an energy drink. Didn't want to leave the convention center, take a nap or anything. All that Yu-Gi-Oh! In one day is a little rough for someone with sleep problems, but we push on. Getting into the deck profile. We got 2 Dormouse, 2 White Rabbit, 3 Chessie, 3 March Hare, 2 Underground, 1 Mirror, 1 Terra, 1 Sark, 1 Allure, 1 TB11, 1 MTP. Most people agree you have to max on all the names. The 2 Mirror, Sark, Terra, of course. Some people were talking about cutting Mirror. I think that's crazy. Having a searchable Forbidden Chalice, that's also an additional Rhoda, and one of your better plays to do under Lancia, so you can set up a Imperm plus the MTP on their turn. Very, very good. Allure, an extra consistency piece. Game 1s, without the threat of Lancia, I felt it was fine to play into draw a little bit harder. And if you lose Allure, you're usually fine anyways. Every game I got drawed after using Allure, it was fine. I was still able to put up most, if not a pretty full board. And it going second, it definitely helps you push through when they have more resources set up than you already. Everyone plays MTP. I'm not maining the GWC, I have that on the side, but the card that a lot of Maliss players seem to disagree about is TB11. TB11 is the best trap, in my opinion. It does so much. Dodges hand traps, which MTP does as well, but going second, you want to get the second effect off to help break boards. But TB11 just helps you get to all 4 names by specialing another one out of deck. It's your best play in and around Droll, and I just don't understand why people don't like Emergency Teleport. Getting into the Friends of Maliss. Got 3 backup, 1 Wizard, Mag, Druis, Baldrake. If you play any less than 3 backup, you're absolutely insane. The card's so good. It's your best extender. You want to see it just in combination with any Maliss monster at any given point. And you can almost guarantee that you're able to play and make most of a board through 1 or 2 hand traps if anything else goes your way. The Bestials, obviously very good into a format with a lot of Mitsurugi floating around, and Orcus, a very popular deck. I didn't know how much I was going to see it at the Nats, but it just the secondary effect to tribute a light or dark and banish something is really good, and people get scared when they see that. I think in the 12 rounds of Swiss, I ended up banishing a Murakumo twice with the on-field effect, which was awesome. That's a lot more than I expected from my testing. And talents, breaker, engine, everything you want it to be. God card. I decided to main it. I know some people were talking about putting it in the side, but it's good going first or going second. The only times you can activate it are when you're only hit by a Prulia or a Imperms and Dominus cards, which happens once in a while, but the card is just so good going first and going second. I don't think there was a game I lost when I resolved it, and it was only dead in my hand once all event. Non-engine, 3 Droll, 3 Ash, 2 Nib, 3 Impulse, 3 Imperm. Droll and Ash, you're going to see those in every single list because they stop Charmies. Droll is really nice in this deck, especially since you can loop it. So you feel pretty good about playing into a Charmy, giving them a draw or two wherever you deem you need to cut it off to get the necessary bodies. And then Firewall bounce it back for their turn. Ash, obviously, same thing. I want to hit Charmies, Mitsurugi, Duo Drive. Those were the main things. Because of my matchup spread, I didn't take out Ash, I think, at all this weekend, when normally I would take it out going second against Maliss or against just different random decks. But it was good, no complaints. Obviously a hard once per turn, that's not great on your turn going second, but you got to play it. The 2 Nib, third one I took out for the Baldrake. I was very satisfied with that because of my matchups. The Nib was pretty rough. I think I only won a few games seeing Nib, and that's just because of all the Mitsurugi, and they were always getting to cross before 5 summons. Impulse, the best hand trap. This deck can play it. I built my deck around not conflicting with Impulse. Obviously, you see Droll and Nib are attributes that do, but those are cards you will always activate first. And Impulse is good going, on your turn and their turn, regardless of who goes first, goes second. It just does everything. Same with Imperm. This card makes Impulse better and so versatile. Doesn't play into talents or thrust or any of that. And there's a lot of talk about people slamming cards like Protos or Escados everywhere, or even like Gallon Granite searching a Fossil Dynamo sub Nib. I don't want to deal with any of that. Luckily it didn't come up, but Imperm's just so versatile, and just being a very solid hand trap, I would definitely keep playing that moving forward. That's the 40 cards in the main. As you see, there's no Mocharmies in the main. I think Mocharmies are really bad in Maliss in particular, because game 1 scenarios, if you win die roll, go first, and see a Mocharmy, and then your only play is interrupted by a single Imperm or Ash, I don't want to have to contemplate passing turn just to not die. Like, that's crazy. Maliss and Mitsu are both so prolific at killing that if they're going second game 1 and you hit them with a Fua, they will just take the challenge. They will just, put out, 8 to 15,000 damage with ease. So I've never wanted that confliction to come up where I have to consider making a bad play because my non-engine was poorly chosen. And obviously more cards I conflict with Impulse. I wanted all 40 in the main to be live, going first or going second. Talents is the only card that sometimes isn't live when you're going first. But if it isn't, then you're probably sitting fine anyways and just comboing off freely. The extra deck, 2 Lingribo, 1 Link Spider. This is it for the Link ones. No Almirage. Almirage only came up once, and honestly, I don't know if it would have changed the outcome of the game, because I ended up winning the game, and it would have been a normal summon Ash to special backup, but I still ended up using the Ash later and was just able to survive until I got to a Maliss name. And we played back and forth with a few hand traps just over a few turns. 2 Lingribo. It comes up in the mirror, and if there's any trap decks in the room, I thought there might be some Morganite stun with the release of those cards. Didn't happen. That was fine. Or maybe the, Labyrinth player that just seems to show up randomly every time. Instead, you can play the Link Disciple, but the attribute was cool for access code. The arrow, I found that never coming up. Even though in testing, when I was trying it, I would use the on-field effect to just, Farrageet cycle a card. Link 2s, Lizard, Splash, Wicked, Dark, SP, Cerberus. Lizard's insane. If you're not playing this card, you're playing Maliss wrong. You don't want to Cyber Lock yourself until you have to. Splash Mage obviously is there for when you get nibbed or the lines that are field spelled only. I usually would try to normal summon a hand trap and just make a Link 3 hard instead of having to do White Rabbit lines through this, just because this dies to everything. Imperm, Veiler, Bell, Bestials, Nib, meanwhile Lizard plays into almost nothing. Like, if they don't interact with the first body you put out, then Lizard can just full combo without them even having a good point to interact. Wicked, probably the best card in the extra deck. The protection effect is so good against Murakumo, Detonator, Liger Dancer, the Orcus cards that want to pop, like the World Crown or the NT8000, the Ghost Ogres, just a bunch of random stuff. And the fact that it's just really hard for them to deal with, once you get Field Spell and Ransom up, they have to make a choice on how to use their X if they want to negate this to turn off their protection or turn off the Field Spell so they can start swinging into different things, because all their stuff will be flipped. And the search effect is really good, but banishment from cost is insane, because on your opponent's turn you can chain block the white binder if you March Hare summon to a zone, and then on a new chain you go Binder 1, Wicked 2, and then just banish another Cyber's card. Yeah, it puts them in a pretty rough spot, because people against Maliss will try to save Ash for exclusively Binder, and on my turn going first, I like to not use it unless I really see a need to, because I'm not maining the GWC, and it just turns off choke points that people thought they had against your deck. Dark's really good in the mirror. Didn't play any of them this event, so it didn't really matter. It's still a good card. I wouldn't cut it. My matchup shot was just a little weird. SP, the best spot removal. It helps you just play through boards and kind of promotes just interacting more instead of just trying to flat out kill or just combo off without respect for certain things. Definitely came up a few times where I would SP a back row and then just keep playing and set up boards after breaking through all their interrupts. And then it makes cards like Nib or the pops off Vanquish Soul cards or Murakumo a lot less effective when you're just able to tag stuff out and they've already used one of their higher impact interrupts. Cerberus was here for Chaos Hunter. Got Chaos Huntered 4 times. 2 were in the same game. He also had Veiler on top of that, so the Cerberus ended up being pretty null, because I led Field Spell into it. On his turn, I had a Druisworm and a Maliss in the mirror, and an imperm. So I was able to, and ended up surviving. That was the only match that went to time, just because we had really long game 1 and 2s. And on his turn, he ended up using both effects of Mitsurugi Prayers to keep playing, because that was, he'd use every other engine card he had at that point. And time was called as soon as he made Duo Drive, and him and I were both out of cards. But he would have to keep comboing off to clear the Druid Swarm and do more damage. Cerberus, another time it came up, my opponent Judgment did it. I had an Imperm for the Chaos Hunter, but I would have had to pass back to him. I was trying to just play on my turn a bit more. And that was fine, just train half his life, and then I'm like, okay, I'm still able to just make like a ransom, grab a mirror, I'm putting you on a top deck. And another time, popped Chaos Hunter and was able to keep comboing and won the game because of it. So would definitely not cut that. Was the 15th extra deck card, but it came up a good bit more than I thought. Link 3s, all the girls. Ransom's the best one. This gets you to every card in your engine. And people really seem to focus on Binder, but this is the card that does everything you want, especially going second, making access code with this. It equates to a Cryptor plus the access code while having everything else cycled through. Cryptor's amazing. I focus on making that card a lot. Would make it over the allied code sometimes if I felt my opponent was just trying to slam some breakers, because it makes it really hard to kill. And if I get hit with like a droplet or a superpower and something and bring it back, then it's really awkward because the breaker only really outed one other thing. Link 4s, Firewall and Access Code Talker. Firewall is insane. Like I said, bouncing Drolls and Ash back to hand, Bestials. I think I only did a Bestial once this tournament. This card, the special summon effect, didn't come up for me at all during Nats, but in testing it does come up a good bit, especially when you're going for the max board with Allied Code and Firewall and the 2 Link 3s and the like. Access Code, insane. It's so good. The fact that it's just an engine card that if they don't respond to it after it's summoned, you just win the game on the spot. Link 5, Allied Code, Negate and Soul Charge. It's crazy. I didn't play any Bomber Dragon because I think that card is pretty bad. After trying it out, it forces you to give up follow-up, which I really didn't like. And also, it's just awkward unless you're able to set up with a Wicked, because the Mandatory Chain Link 1 you just end up blanking some of your own interrupts, which felt goofy. And in the mirror, I just played so many mirrors that you just learn how to sequence your interrupts correctly, because you use the banish effects on Link 2s, so it keeps them from climbing, or Firewall bouncing stuff after they've like used their normal summon, used their field spell. So I think that card is completely unnecessary, and it just ends up getting impermed and you look absolutely stupid, because it was a waste of an end board piece when you have nothing at that point. When the Firewall, on the other hand, if they imperm that to start their turn, you can still cycle a non-engine card back, and then they kind of just wasted the imperm. Getting into the side deck, 3 Lancia, 4 Maliss, obviously. It also covers against Orcus, which is funny. Definitely just hose my Orcus opponent when I hit them with this. Even though they lanced me back, like I'm able to do a bit more under it into a single hand trap. 3 Crow. My siding patterns changed as I went to this event. In testing, I was siding all 3 of these, but I ended up only siding 2 most of the time because of the minor just tweaks I made to my siding patterns as the day went on. Card's really good. I'd probably only play 2 moving forward, but just it does so much. It's very versatile once you kind of start to look at how it can come up and just apply it to every game state. Being able to hit a Murakumo that they distributed with prayers, or hit the ritual spell when they're trying to add it back with Kusanagi, or your opponent goes Splash Mage, target a guy, you just get rid of it there. If anyone was playing like the Sky Striker engine with the Zero, you can just hit the Kagari target or Engage or whatever. Yeah, this card's just really versatile, really good. Doesn't conflict with Impulse. That's one of the main reasons why I wanted to play this over Bell. And non once per turn. Yeah, it was very solid. Also played Shifter. This card was really bad because of my matchups. Mitsu just does not care about this card. And Ryzeal, my opponents always seem to have exactly Ice plus Sword, so it felt like a waste. I think in theory the card's pretty good if you had a bit of a different matchup spread. But, yeah, I mean, I put it in against Blue Eyes and Orcus didn't see it, so this card really didn't matter. And Vanquish Soul also does not care about it. This was the 14th card. I'd kind of been back and forth on this on tournaments prior, but it was fine. I don't know. The matchup spread definitely made it feel pretty poor. Duster for going second. Glorified MST, I called it because I saw it a good bit, and every single time it just ended up being a 1-for-1 spell trap removal. That's fine. It's a great card. I'm always going to play it. For going first, called by I Meet You, 3 Mistaken Arrests. I moved the called by to the side deck, which was something that felt weird for me because I've always main decked this card. I feel this card's absolutely insane. But with this current format, I made the call that I wanted all my cards to be relevant going second game 1. And if your opponent's just comboing off game 1, a called by in the hand trap is not going to be the difference maker. Like, sure, you could consider, oh, well, you just hit the Murakumo or the Twins summon back, but they're just so far ahead of that point that those felt like fake scenarios the more and more I tried playing without called by. Michu, just a 5th copy of Backup or Wizard. Those cards are really good. Obviously, it's a little less flexible than Silent Mining, and it locks you on the spot. But it's not a neg 1. And Mistaken Arrest, everyone was saying it was the best card this weekend, and I agree. This card is Ash plus Stroll. It is so insane. The more you play it, the more you realize how much of a blowout this is. It doesn't lose your, Duster, Lightning Storm stuff either, and there's just very little that interacts with it. Absolute god card. I won every game I saw it. And the last 2 cards, GWC, I do want it somewhere in my list. I just, under very few circumstances, want it going second. That's why I refuse to main it. I've tried different combinations of the traps in the main. I've tried MTP plus GWC. I've tried just MTP. I've tried all 3. All 3 felt a little too bricky for my liking, with names at 2. But this card, you still want your list somewhere. The life gain can come up. It didn't for me at all. I just, like it as a reborn, an extra layer of insulation when your opponent's putting in a lot of hate, like all 9 Charmies and more Nibs and Lancia. Anti-spell was terrible. I think it just got outed every single time I flipped it. XN Mirio. Against Orcus, my opponent made Ding. I impermed it to try and keep this up. And then they just ended up making Chaos Angel. And in the side event I played on Friday, same thing, XN Mirio. They have it every single time, so all 4 times this was flipped in events. It just didn't matter. It could have been any other card. I thought it was going to be really good to stop power spells in the side deck, but it just ended up not working out that way because my opponents always had the out. This was the 15th card. Probably should have been like Phantasme or the Silent Mining. I just couldn't decide on what the 14, 15 slots were, so I made it just 2 power 1-ofs. As you saw, there was 0 Moch armies in this deck. I wanted no dead cards, and Fua consistently just felt horrendous in Maliss. I got upset after losing 4 separate matches in a regional, in regionals, because of that card, just drawing a dead for turn, or my opponent just going Thrust for Sanctum, and then just, me not having any extenders to play through the Lancia. So I finally decided to up and cut all of them from my list. Like I said, I wanted all 40 cards in the main deck to be live, going first or going second. Nib, of course, is like the one card that going second is can be pretty bad, especially since it's only good against certain matchups. But it's a card that, with Maliss, the extra body just always feels good, because even if they interact with your normal summon, you still just make a link 2, make Haggard, banish a name, get a link 3 right there, and you're off to the races. So I like the pressure it applies, and the fact that your opponent will just have to respect the card from there on. The extra deck, I think all 15 of these cards are needed. You could consider playing like a Pit Knight or a Bomber Dragon over the Cerberus, but those both felt like very poor options because they required you to already have the extenders and just be able to keep playing, which at that point I don't even think the Cerberus or the Pit Knight or Bomber Dragon are necessary, because you still would have ended up on like a link 3 plus some other stuff. No IP, I did consider it, but it never felt relevant. Even when I was getting Charmied, there was just always better plays. And yeah, that was the deck. I'm a little sad I didn't top. Definitely felt like I could have. I was squandered that round when I was getting drowsy. But I saw other people were making deck profiles for day 2, so I thought, why not, serve as a little milestone for me, something to look back on when I do top the next tier 3 event.